On today's episode of the Boosting Your Occupancy podcast, I'm talking with Lisa, Chief Operating Officer, and Sarah, Group Sales and Marketing Director at Porthaven Care Homes. In this episode, we explore how first impressions, emotional connection, and local engagement play a critical role in helping families choose the right care home. So I am delighted to be speaking with Lisa and Sarah today. So Lisa, you're the Chief Operating Officer of Porthaven Care Homes.
Yes.
And Sarah, you're the Group Sales and Marketing Director. And congratulations on having a 23rd property in your portfolio. Today we're at the magnificent Elizabeth Gardens Care Home. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Ellie.
Thank you.
I would love to explore about the customer journey really and the importance of that in this critical care home sector that we work on. So in your opinion, at what stage of the journey do families usually decide whether a care home feels right?
I think for me, the first impression really for families when they walk in. So often families are coming in, they're feeling guilty, they're feeling anxious. That first impression and that first welcome can really make or break the decision for people. You know, we've all walked into places and thought, this feels right or it doesn't feel right. So, you know, we really emphasise that to people. You never get the opportunity to make that impression again for a family. The welcome they receive, you know, sitting them down. I've seen lots of families come in feeling really anxious and you can...
Sorry, it's about reassurance as well, isn't it? Because it's often a time of crisis. You know, it's not like you're going out looking for a holiday or buying a car. It's an emotional purchase, for want of a better expression.
Yeah, and they come in and they feel that, and you can see them relax.
Yeah.
And they feel that it might be right.
Yes, absolutely.
I think one of the things that Sarah always says, and I think it always resonates with me, and I'd say all of the care home teams, is the fact that people call because they need our help, and I don't think you can underestimate that. It is a time of need. It's a difficult place to be.
So with first impressions, that could be walking in, it could be on the phone call for the very first inquiry call. I'd be interested to know what are some of the best practices you implement here or have come across around those critical customer journey touch points.
I think the first point is when someone picks up the phone is that we want our teams to be genuinely interested in that person. So, you know, no distractions. And that's hard sometimes in a care home because if it's the receptionist, for example, they might have people coming in. But again, it's taken probably a lot of strength for someone to pick that phone up. So that response of how can we help? And I think that's some of the best practice we've seen is when people do actually ask the caller, how can we help you?
And also actively listening, I think. That's the other thing, is so often people will start to go into a feature dump of the home and talking about the facilities. That might not be what the family need at that time. They might just want to offload because often you're the very first person that they're ever actually vocalising that, you know, I can't cope anymore and I need somebody to help me with this. So I think listening and also saying, you know, I'm really sorry that you're going through this time at the moment. That goes a long way with people to actually acknowledge what they're going through.
Yeah. And I think, you know, I think for Sarah and I as well, we've both been in the sector for many years, but we're actually facing the journey individually ourselves, me with my mum and Sarah with her father. And we talk about it a lot, about what that experience has been like. And even though we work in the sector and you understand it, when you're in the shoes, really living, what's important. And for me, like you said, it was my mum is in a Porthaven care home. But for me, it was really how the staff made me feel.
So I love that sentiment then around how you make people feel. There's a famous quote around that, isn't it? About it's how you make people feel, that's what they remember. So yeah, if we just build on then, so you were saying about that critical call and demonstrating empathy, building rapport to make people feel seen, valued and heard. How does that then translate into the tour experience here?
I think, again, it's really about the family and what's important and what's personal to them. So it is that actively listening. It's not, them coming in and showing them we've got a cinema and we've got a gym. It's actually talking and finding out what has prompted that call. There's going to be something that's really driven that family to make that decision. And so the tour needs to be personalised and really the emphasis put on what matters to them.
I think that's really, really key, because, you see some people over the years, we've seen people, a male potential resident coming in and they've shown the hair salon and the nail bar. Well, actually, that has no impact on that person. But actually what we do know about him is he loved football and always loved watching matches. So then use the cinema, like you're saying, Sarah, it was understand the person. Not the condition, I think.
Yeah. And it's also interesting about the people that do the tours. I mean, we do have dedicated salespeople in our homes, but we always recognise that people want to meet the people that care for their loved one. So, introducing them to the clinical team, introducing them to the home manager. We've got some people that do the tours through us. We've got one head housekeeper that does fantastic tours, and she says, I'm not going to lose your laundry. Now, her conversion rate is amazing because it's really important to you don't lose my laundry.
Yes.
So, it's those things that make the difference too.
And I think walking round as well, if all the staff speak to people as you're having a tour, you're showing somebody around, if every single member of staff is saying hello, that makes a difference. But if you've got staff with head down, beavering away, I know everyone's busy, but again, it goes back to that sense of feeling.
I think it was interesting actually when going back to our personal situation, when I took my dad on the tour to look around the care home. My dad loves food, and as we were walking past, they were bringing out the tea trolley with all the cakes on. And one of the carers saw my dad looking at it, and she stopped and said to him, "Would you like a cake?" And he got to choose the cupcake, and then he walked around with the cupcake for the rest of the time, and that was it. He got in the car and said, "When can I move in?" It was a cupcake.
That's an excellent story. Thank you for sharing that, because I think a lot of operators listening to this would be trying to get in place the foundations, the brilliant basics standards of consistency across the customer journey. And I think what you just described there, I would call it a wow moment, or something where it's extra surprise and delight. And there's other moments like that you can populate along the customer journey. Some would go for a reserved parking space or other things, or meeting other team members can be a wow. I mean, for me, of the tour, the discovery part at the beginning is such a vital moment to build that relationship. How do you find it?
Again, I think, as I referenced earlier, it is about knowing the person, getting as much information from the family, and then just building on that as the foundation for everything we do. Spending time, make sure it's not rushed. Again, because you're going through a really difficult decision, and you're making decisions for somebody who typically is unable to make them for themselves, or going through a period of a crisis in their health where that might be temporary, but they then can't make the decision at the time. So I think as long as people are spending time and really listening.
Yeah.
And also making it not about a tick box exercise, because quite often, people will sit there with their forms and they're
not sitting there with a piece of paper or in front of a computer.
No, and just making it a conversation. That's what we always say to our it's just a really natural conversation. And one of the questions we found really helps is, what's prompted the call or what's prompted the visit today? Because that can lead to a whole outpouring of, mum's had a fall and she's now in hospital and dad was her carer, and you've immediately established quite a few of the things that you need to understand, but it's been a very gentle way of asking.
Yeah, those great discovery questions like that one. What hobbies is your mum into?
Or describe a typical day. What does a typical day look like for mum at the moment? And they'll go through what a typical day is at the moment.
And even sometimes, what did the typical day used to look like?
Yes, yeah.
What did people used to do, and build on that as well, so that you can maybe give something back that, it's a new beginning and it's a new chapter where somebody can be well cared for, well looked after, but also maybe, just invoke some of those memories and take up those hobbies again.
Yeah. Or just being able to book your hair appointments. That's one of the things that you find often people come in and think sometimes moving into a care environment, the world's going to get smaller, when in actual fact, it ends up getting larger because they're able to go to the bistro and have a coffee. They're able to book their own hair appointments again. They're able to go to the cinema, things that they've always enjoyed to do, but they've not been potentially able to do it.
Oh, that's great. Okay, thank you. So now talking more about marketing and sales, which is really the growth engine of the business. Have you got any successful marketing strategies you could share with us about how you make sure you're attracting and converting the right, potential residents?
Oh, we couldn't possibly share that. Top secret. A lot of it, I mean, Sarah, you lead this, but I think a lot of it's around knowing your local market. And reaching out there, building the community links, because you can't underestimate the power of a care home in a local community. It's typically not Porthaven as a brand, is it? It would be Elizabeth Gardens at Milton Keynes, or do you know that home? So I think one of the biggest successes is about working in that community, knowing the community and bringing the community in, educating people on what care homes look like and what they are like, not what predominantly is a public perception that care homes are poorly decorated and there's custard every day for pudding. We have moved on.
Yeah.
I think also too, one of the successes I've really noticed with Porthaven is actually getting it right for the residents that we've got living with us. Word of mouth referral from friends and family and from existing residents. We've doubled that in the last year. So last year, a lot of our inquiries were coming from the fact that we were getting it right. So I can spend lots of money going out trying to find new people, but if we're getting it right fundamentally for the residents that live with us and they're recommending us to other people, the conversion rate for those inquiries is far higher than us spending an awful lot of money on digital. So, we're very lucky that we've got a really great operational team that enables us to be able to be really proud of the product, and people come to us because they know it's a good place for mum or dad to be.
Yeah, that's
And I think being honest, because, it's a people business. We're people dealing with people. Sometimes things do go wrong. And it's about being open and honest and owning that issue, whether, as you've said, the housekeeper doing the tour that promises not going to lose the laundry. Just being honest with people. I mean, we had a great example this week of a home that they wanted to move in, and they were going to move in on the Monday, I think it was, and sadly the carpet wasn't ready. And the daughter and the home worked together, and they actually said to the home manager, the way you've solved a problem for us is incredible.
great.
And gave them great confidence moving forward, prior to the move-in, that they felt that if any other issue arises, the way that you've dealt with this gives us really good confidence. So
Sure. I'd like to come back to just what Lisa was saying there about one of the best strategies being around bringing in the community, which is great. However, a lot of care home groups do not go down that route. So I just would love to know from you, if you've got any examples of people who might be thinking, well, how do we do that? What do we do of what you do here?
I mean, I think the first thing I'd say is we're blessed with the design of our buildings and the space we have in our homes. So there's always an area that we can accommodate networking groups or meetings. But I think a really good example is the lunch club. That we run lunch clubs every week in our homes, and what we do is we get residents also to lead those and champion them. They love doing it. One of our residents, he was in service, wasn't he, for his life, so he loves showcasing it. And people just become parts again of the care home and the visiting. It helps with isolation and again can help with recommendations. That person might not be looking for care now, but they might know somebody that is. But equally, if not, and we've just helped somebody during that week, and every Wednesday they know they're going to get a really good meal and some good company, again, we're making a difference.
yeah, it is really about that, isn't it? Being part of the community.
What channels would you use from a marketing perspective to get that message out? Is it to a select group versus, say, a direct mail? Is it your hot prospects, or how do you choose how to invite to those luncheon groups?
We use Facebook, social media. We find that really helps. We've done created flyers that we've sent out to local communities.
Social prescribers. So
Yeah.
there's a big thing obviously now with local GP practices that there's a lot of emphasis on, not only people's medical needs, but also their social needs. So anything that we can do to help with that in terms of memory cafes, Film on Friday, lunch clubs, community cafes, we take it to the social prescribers and they love it because it's something that they're able to go to, their patients and saying, look, we've got these opportunities. It doesn't cost anything and you're able to go to them. So that's been a good way of actually getting people in. And also the local domiciliary care agencies, here at Elizabeth Gardens, we've got a really good relationship with the local dom care agency. They're going to visit people in their home, but they don't have a peer group. So for them to bring their clients into here, that's been a really helpful thing for them, that they've then got that, peer group to talk to.
Yeah, great.
And it helps as well if people come in for convalescent care or respite care. If you've got relationships with domiciliary care providers, the people that choose not to stay in a care home at this point in time, you can refer on as well.
Yeah, that's great. As well as just many other community organisations you would be in touch with.
Churches, we do a lot on intergenerational.
U3A.
Yeah, U3A, Rotary. A lot of our client service managers are involved in their local Rotary clubs as well. We'll sponsor organisations.
Local football clubs.
That's great. So that's sort of a strong recommendation here, is to really be sort of more hyper local.
Absolutely.
Do you find that events are a great lead generation channel for you? Events for the prospects? I mean, like the lunch club is a sort of event, but also other bigger, maybe quarterly events you might do?
We do. I think we do that in a more bespoke way. So we don't do a one size fits all. So we will select the homes and work with the homes where an event may be successful. So if you were looking at financial planning or something, we did one recently, but we don't say to all the homes, do that, because we know some people haven't got the appetite for that. There's no need. So I think it's trying to find what's the need in the local area and then hosting events that relate to that local area. So for example, Parkinson's, we know in one of our homes in the local community, they have got quite a lot of people actually in the community who live with Parkinson's, sadly. So there we would host a Parkinson event. So again, know your local community.
We do also every month have an open day. So we always say to all of the homes, and we theme that. So part of our marketing calendar for 12 months is, we always know obviously that there's Marie Curie, we always know that there's Macmillan. So every month there's a themed, open day, that's really then targeted to our prospects and our past respite clients. So that's something that people often forget, to reopen those respite stays that have gone home and re-invite them back into those events, those bigger events. We always have the summer garden parties, the Christmas calendar. So there's lots of things that you can, touch base with people on.
It's a busy marketing calendar.
Yeah. Rightly so. Yeah. Okay, great. If we now come back to more of the psychology around the families that are looking for different care homes, and perhaps looking at us, perhaps looking at other competitors, and also, yourselves going through that experience, what would you say are some of the emotional or practical challenges families face when choosing a care home?
I think guilt is a lot. I mean, I think that's the main thing that people will. People will go through a range of emotions: anger, fear, denial, guilt. They may be going through one. They may be going through all of them at the same time. So I think a lot of people do feel that guilt. I think practically funding is quite an issue for people, isn't it? And
we've both talked about this because we both said it's around. Are you doing the right thing? It's not our money, and that's what families will feel. It's not their money; it's their parents' money or their relatives' money. And are you doing the right thing with that money at the right time with that money? And the longevity of funding for people. And I think that is a consideration that people take. But I know personally that's how I felt at my And also we chatted about it. We say we have a support group at the moment. But it is, and it's a real consideration. And I think, again, we go back to feeling, don't we, and emotion, because does the home feel right? What do local recommendations say? Can I feel confident in leaving my loved one there? And that's another big issue, I think, emotional.
Yeah, and it is. It's it's the most important thing to you, and you're entrusting somebody else with that person. But the practical element as well. Talking to families about the funding. Even reminding people just things like the attendance allowance, isn't it? Just something as small as that. Just giving them those real practical guides and just saying to them, this is how you apply for it. This is how you can obtain it. Just those little things, I think, can really help a family.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to use your word there about entrusting, do you have any advice for the listeners about ways care home operators could build trust from either a marketing point of view?
I think some of it's around reviews. I think, without probably being too political, I think the issue, people used to use CQC ratings as a reliable source, but because of the delay of inspections, we all know that so many providers are facing outdated inspection reports. So the reliability of feedback, I think, comes from social media, recommendations, carehome.co.uk. And when relatives come into the home, speaking to other families, being open and allowing that freedom for new prospects to come in and talk to people. What is it like? And really just base themselves on their experience, I think, as well as people's observations and the feel you get when you walk into that home.
And I think, the social media is a big aspect. I know for myself, I'm often on Dad's care home looking and seeing, has he joined in with anything? What are people doing? And I think that's, it is more and more these days, it is the reviews that people look at, but it's also that day-to-day, what's happening in the home. Are the residents out? Are they looking happy? Are they involved with different things going on?
So they all sat in a circle with the chairs, gone are the days of care delivery like that. And just picking up on that point about the social media, I've seen that quite often in local communities, people will put on a local community group, can anyone recommend a care home? And you see comments going through, if I recommend this one, I've had a bad experience there. So you can't underestimate the power of social media.
So we've touched on a bit about the moments that are really critical to the families deciding that you are the right care home for them. We touched on a bit about the phone call or the first impression. Is there anything else you would sort of layer in as really, key moments on the customer journey that you try to get right?
Follow up. I think that is absolutely key, because there's nothing worse than ringing whatever we do. If we make a phone call, someone's not there, you want to have a follow-up call. And I think given that the purchase in a care home is so emotive, that you want someone to ring you back up and say, anything else you can do, not in a pushy way, but just again, genuinely being there for someone throughout that journey, even if they don't choose you at the end of the day. That reputation again helps with just listening and that genuine care, really.
I think the follow-up is absolutely, it definitely is key. And you touched on something, Ali, as well, as of having a parking spot when people arrive. We've just been doing customer satisfaction surveys. So we have a team that call people after the tour and just ask them, they're not in the home, they work for us centrally, and they ask, basically, how did it go? What could we have done better? And one of the things that came back was people found it quite stressful when they were driving in and they couldn't find anywhere to park. And so, that was key with one of our homes. And it's like, make sure you put a cone out, you put a dedicated spot out so that family don't have to deal with that stress when they arrive. So it's listening to the feedback from, what we've done wrong to then hopefully try to get that right.
And that is really important. Every provider will do annual surveys for residents or biannual surveys. A lot of people will do feedback cards as they leave. But I don't think a lot of people focus on the tour, that follow up, good, bad, indifferent. What can we learn from that? And it takes a lot of time to do, but it has been invaluable.
Really good insights.
Yeah, I think
That's
it's
strictly
excellent that you're doing it.
Strictly secret.
Well, that is a really great secret. That might be out, but because I think it's so unique or rare that you would be doing that. I come across the odd other operator doing that. That is brilliant that you're getting that rich data around the tour feedback where you've lost a prospect. That's another moment that would be really interesting to say, can I understand your
We
decision?
do exactly that.
Yeah.
And we had one, I think that the hub followed up. I can't remember the reason, but she's now come in or moved her relative in.
Yeah, so people do really appreciate the call. It was because the team that do it they love doing it because they do find sometimes they'll reignite because we've reached out and said, well, actually, you did get that wrong, but what you have got right is you phoned me now to find out what you could have done better.
Yeah. Okay, great. Well, I think that you're both very big fans of data. So I would like to understand, please, what sort of data you're looking at when you're trying to elevate the customer experience.
Well, I think, one of the typical pieces of data, I suppose, that we would all look at is from inquiry to show round. So we will look at the whole customer journey. We'll look at how long the calls were taken to answer. What was that experience like? We then take feedback from people that have had tours. We learn about what we could improve upon and what's worked really well, so we can share that. We look at the point from inquiry to show round to asking an assessment, because that needs to be quite swift for people, because they want that reassurance that you can meet their needs. So we look at that data as well. Say conversions, we all look at, and I think all providers look at those.
But we do quarterly mystery shops.
Yeah.
So every single home has a quarterly mystery shop. We then have that basically broken down by region. We have it broken down so we can see, where we've got areas that need improvement. And the mystery shops for us have been invaluable. So we can benchmark and the homes know, we've told them now, and they can see whether they're, where they're sitting.
That traffic light system.
We've got traffic light system, yeah.
That's great. Your point about the importance of the conversions and being able to benchmark that's great. I wish we had more UK-wide by geography, by different, levels of pricing and everything to be able to look at those moments. Because, often people will just say, oh, well, the conversion rate is this. But I always say, well, which part of the journey are you meaning? Do you mean inquiry to, move in? Do you mean visit to move in? People just aren't talking similar language enough. I wish it was more open the benchmarks. And you sometimes have home managers saying, well, they're great at tours. You say, but are you? Because if you actually saw your data, it might be 18%.
And it's how many also too, because it's also questionable, are you looking at the inquiries that have actually come in for that month that have converted in that month? Or are we looking at inquiries overall and how many have moved in? So, we look at both aspects. So we look at what we call speed to lead. So that's how many physical inquiries came in that month and how many of those actually moved in within that month.
Yes.
And then we've got the conversion rate of obviously all admissions in that month that could have started 2 months before. So I think it's interesting, and that can come down to the category of care, as to how quickly people move in. But that's been interesting to analyse and to see, we've got some homes where our speed to lead and admissions are really, really quick.
Yeah. And then if we go sort of higher up the funnel, filling in enough leads, quality leads every month.
Yeah, so we look at the quality. Everybody, we get inquiries in either direct to the care home, our hub, or through various partners, Porthaven and Lottie, that everyone uses. And I think it's looking at the quality, and Sarah and the team monitor that every month of where we're going to spend the money. Yeah. That gives us the best quality of the leads, because there are some partner agencies, we know it's a scattergun approach. We know that they press the button and that's gone to 10 care homes. Yeah. And we'll log them all as inquiries. But again, it's the speed to which you respond to that.
Yeah. And also different, obviously different channels of referral sources have different conversion rates. You're going to your point with conversion rates. Obviously, why we try to be in the community and why we try to get people into the building is that we find obviously word of mouth referrals, as everybody does. Your conversion rate with those can be 40-50%, whereas digital leads can be around 11%. So that's where we really try to focus our attention to get those referrals.
Yeah, it's really great to hear.
Yeah, it's always busy. Always looking for somewhere else we can generate the inquiries.
Where is the leak in the leaky bucket?
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, I remember an old sales manager actually telling me that it's like you've got a funnel and you're forever topping up the bottle.
Yeah.
And that was the best analogy, and I use that.
Yeah. I'm talking there's a conference next week on the Property Week, Later Living and Care show. I'm doing a talk about how to attract more private paying, and I'm just toying in my head about whether to bring in a whole leaky bucket thing. So I'm like a watering thing, and buckets and maybe a paddling pool. If they'll let me do this, I need to check. But just to be creative, yeah.
But yeah, it's a great analogy.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'd like to shift the conversation to such a important area around culture and what this plays into about the customer experience. So yeah, would love to ask you. So for instance, I do a lot of training on how to do a brilliant tour, call handling, standards, SOPs. But if you don't have the right culture or leadership, trying to tell everybody why customer experience excellence is critical, it cannot deliver such impactful results. And I know you're really strong on culture here. So would you share any?
Yeah, I mean, culture, I think, is the foundation of any company, and we can all sit and talk about it. But I think it's how we walk that every day as leaders in an organisation. We've spent a lot of work over the last 3 years of really looking at the culture, examining that, looking at our values. What does it mean to work in the organisation? What does it mean for people to live in our care homes? And can the culture of the culture of the people we recruit, does that then resonate right through all of our teams, and you can feel it? I think as well it goes around to recruiting the right people. So our sales teams, Sarah's always involved in the recruitment. Again, so we can make sure we've got the right people with the right heart. Yes. We don't want, dare I say it, aggressive salespeople. We want people that genuinely care about the journey that someone is on when they move in a care home. So we involve all of the team in all of our training, as Sarah has said. So we'll look at our receptionists, our housekeepers, the kitchen porters. Everybody is part of the journey with a resident when they move in.
I think we had a really good example yesterday, didn't we, when we were talking about one of our CSMs was shared a story with us about a respite resident, and it was just lovely. She got
So we build the foundation. So Sean, who's the CEO, went on a holiday and read a book, Unreasonable Hospitality. It's become the Bible.
Yeah.
I think everybody in the company has read it. And what happened in this care home, and she linked it all back to the values and unreasonable hospitality. So there's a resident who comes into the home regularly for respite care. He lives with his wife when he's at home. I don't believe they haven't got a close network of family, have they? Yeah. And they had a beloved cat. And on the day that he went home from his respite care, the cat was unwell, was taken to the vet, and sadly the cat passed away. Now I'm going to name her Jazz, got some flowers, got a card, and took them to the wife of this resident. The wife sent her this beautiful email back about an act of kindness and compassion. And Jazz shared it with us around, I just feel this is living our values and our basis of unreasonable hospitality. This is not something scripted. It's not something you tell people to do. They actually believe, natural, and they believe it's the right thing to do. And the impact of that small act of kindness and compassion will have a lasting impact on that family. Yeah. And I think that's when you know you've turned a corner and you've changed the culture in an organisation. And I think we're proud of culture and so passionate about it.
Yeah. No, it's excellent to hear. Really great story as well. Now I know that book well, as you say, it's a real buzz at the moment. A lot of people looking at different sectors. I work in hotels a lot as well, so there's a lot of sort of just crossover of that and how you deliver magic moments. Yeah,
moments that matter, isn't it, Sarah?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we
That's copyrighted.
that one. Yeah.
But it is, it's those small, the moment, and it can be something really, really small. We were talking the other day about, we were looking at things that we're potentially wanting to film and, different ideas that we had. And we were talking about, a resident being able to be in their room and choose between two ties, and just making everyday choices themselves and being, encouraged to do that. It's those small things, I think, that again really matter.
Yeah. There's the menu, if you think of food, breakfast, dinner, supper, it's choosing the menu, choosing from a variety of foods, not just having one selection. And I think, again, care homes have moved on so much in terms of that, but I still don't think the general public parts may not realise how far we have improved.
You mentioned before about CQC and some challenges that we will all know exist in the care home sector. It'll be a really interesting topic that keeps coming up around what happens when you have a rating that requires improvement or even lower than that. Is there hope out there for other care homes that are facing that they could actually still improve their occupancy and revenue shift even when you have that rating, which could be very outdated? And do you have any experience of that?
So we have one home was inspected, probably 5-6 years ago, I would think. And that had a requires improvement rating. And that home is doing really well now with its occupancy. Yeah. And we did an exercise, so we, AI is being used more and more, isn't it, in the searches. And so we typed in best care home in Aylesbury. And our home came up as the second care home. It was the best care home to live in Aylesbury. That's despite the fact that that's got an RI rating, and that was above some other homes that were good. So when we started analysing that, it was all about, go back to local community. What does the community think of the home? What's the perspective of Avondale? You can edit that bit out. And Avondale and carehome.co.uk ratings.
But we also had, so when I first came into the group, we had another home that was up north.
Oh,
it was
yes.
very, very new CSM there. And I did the very first sales training day, and I was looking for awards for people. I'm a little bit like a school teacher where I want to give everybody something, and I was really struggling with this home to find something that I could give him. I basically gave him the award in the face of adversity. Now he turned that home around. 60% of their admissions are now from word of mouth referral, and rolling forward now to the next CSM day, he's got the highest conversion rate in the company, and he's going to win the award for that. And he absolutely, the community now in that area trusts them implicitly. They absolutely, he's just completely reshaped that whole scenario.
We talk about the care, but the care has got to be right. The quality's got to be right. If you get that right, it would typically feed in your inquiries and everything else. And that whole team have worked so hard there.
And they've been re-inspected, and it's all...
They've been re-inspected, it's a good rating.
Oh, yeah.
But he's a real testament to other CSMs who are going through it. Because, my very first job that I ever had was in a home that requires improvement. And so I was able to, to say to him, look, I've been here, I know how hard this is, and the only way you're going to crack this is getting confidence back in from the community.
And I think being honest with people because if they haven't looked at the report, do people know CQC? When you're first looking, you may not. So when they're looking, it's about being honest and upfront with people that this was our rating, this is what they said, this is what we've done. But please speak to our residents and other family members. And I think that helps as well.
Yes.
Don't shy away from it.
No.
At all.
And going back to when I was a CSM, and I actually used to say to families, there's no better time to actually move your loved one in with us, because basically we're really trying to get it right now. Somebody that's not been inspected for a few years, you're not quite sure what's going on, we know what the problems are, and we're really trying to address them.
So from a marketing point of view, some advice for trying to still get families to visit in the first place, so that you will appear on like the ChatGPT, is to connect with the local community more. So hopefully they're saying good things. Carehome.co.uk, you can try to get the highest ratings there. Any other things we would put out there, such as press releases?
We do press releases. We'll also share, where people give us consent, if we get really nice feedback, we will also share that publicly as well.
Yeah, I think one of the things that this particular home did was, people have the open gardens. It's a very big thing in this community, and they said, right, okay, we'll be the very last stop for the open gardens. And that was amazing. That was probably the first time when we ended up with a lot of people in from the community, because we were the last stop, and everyone was like, oh, actually, you know what? This is fine. They may have this label, but it's lovely.
Yeah.
So
that's a really creative thing you did there. Yeah.
I just think one thing I would like to say is that what we do it's a tough job, care. But I think I would just like to acknowledge, Sarah, that you and I've worked together for years now, far too many years, you may say, but a long time. And there's nothing better, I don't think, in working in a sector where you work with someone that you know well, that you can, we push each other, challenge each other, and it is great fun every day as well.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, that's very sweet, very relevant to the culture piece. No, I see that between you knowing you both. I think you're technically brilliant, obviously, but the fun and the banter and the support you give each other is.
You can't underestimate that, actually, can you? It's a tough job, and we were saying only this week, sometimes sales is quite a pressured job, and some of our team have said to us recently that the culture in this organisation isn't like it has been in other sectors they may have worked, that it's actually a supportive company. So I think it's something, again, we're quite proud of.
And they think, they acknowledge, they said sales job, there's always pressure, but they said it's a real different sort of,
Positive pressure.
Yeah, positive sort of supportive pressure. And, and going back to, us working together, I'm so lucky that operationally I know there's never any concerns at all with homes, and for me that's so important. Integrity wise, I could not work for a provider that I didn't feel that I was sitting there and saying to families, you can entrust your loved one with me. And I think that's so important in what we do. Because we've said earlier on that how that is critical to that family and what that means.
I think being able to understand more. You think you know the journey when you've been in the sector for so long. You think you know what's right. But when you're living the journey, I think what we're doing as well is learning from that, both different experiences. But we learn from that, and we try and share that and think about what can we bring back into the organisation to make things better for people looking for care, because ultimately that's what it's about.
And I think, the positive thing for the whole care home sector is, many operators like yourselves are really trying to improve the customer experience for this critical, family journey that you're on. So I think hopefully that will just be getting better and better. That's what sort of fuels me, is making it the best experience for such an emotional, challenging time. And hopefully also just more, more supply coming up, more positive impressions, as hopefully people have a much more favourable impression of the care home sectors, because like here, they're absolutely magnificent places.
I mean, we have just appointed 2 heads of hospitality into Porthaven to really help us on that next journey of what does that hospitality offering look like? How can we, deliver unreasonable hospitality alongside exceptional care? Yeah. So I'm looking forward to see where that journey takes us, actually.
Watch this space. That's even more.
Yeah. We won't stand still doing.
No, well, thank you very much, ladies.
Thank you, Ali.
Thank you, Ali.
Thank you.